first video, and I'm probably going to really not express myself as well as I hope to, but I really have felt the need to do this for a few days now. I'm a Diablo fan. I have been playing Diablo through 1, 2. I did the infamous Hunt for the Cow level that didn't exist in 1. I found it in 2 eventually with the patch that actually added it. And I played 3. I didn't start playing 3 until around Season 8. And that was primarily because when it first launched, I was aware that there was issues. I didn't like the idea of the real money auction house and things like that. So I could go into a lot of details about the characters I've played and various things like that. But when it was said and done, you know, you have to take it on face value. I have been playing Diablo a long, long time, and like many of you that hopefully end up watching this video, I was very much watching the BlizzCon opening ceremony. I did not have a virtual ticket, but thanks to the beauty of YouTube, a lot of people uploaded a lot of the virtual ticket content later on after the event was over, which I have watched many videos of. I've seen countless reaction videos, response videos, both during the events and since they um, are finished. Sorry for the pauses. I didn't script this. This is really just me. This is raw. I may end up doing a few edits, but I'm going to try and keep it as raw as possible, but also keep it as brief as possible. So, um, as you can see, right now I'm actively in Diablo 3. I'm doing season 15. Right. I am also a Twitch streamer, and I have been streaming Diablo since season 12, where I discovered that the Twitch stream community is very good, much like the in-game community. And I'd say 3.5 months ago, I was chatting with some of my viewers, and they were asking me what I expected from BlizzCon as far as Diablo was concerned. My answer was pretty simple. I try to keep my finger on the pulse of things. I am a big fan of a lot of the streamers that and YouTube content creators around Diablo because that's how I try and stay in the know. But I'm also capable of thinking for myself. And based on a lot of things, one particular YouTuber who I want to give a shout out to, Riker, he's not everybody's cup of tea, but he's pretty good at keeping on the pulse of what's going on within Blizzard. He's also pretty involved with Blizzard at these days, to the point where he considers several of them friends, or at least good acquaintances. And based on his videos leading up to BlizzCon and various other events, I said when asked about what I expect from BlizzCon, honestly, we weren't going to get D4. I would have loved it if I'd been wrong, but I knew we weren't going to get D4. Blizzard have not promised D4. They've not suggested D4 yet. We know it's in development. They've been hiring for it for the last year, but we weren't going to get it. I was hoping we might get a teaser, even if it's just a little splash screen with, Diablo and a 4, or even just a 4. But that was the most we could expect. What I did say was, we're going to get a mobile title. I knew that beyond a doubt. And this is 3 months before BlizzCon. Yeah. So it wasn't a surprise to me when, lo and behold, Diablo Immortal was announced. The other thing I did say was I hoped that we would get a remaster of either D1 or D2, or better yet, both. Because I think it would be wonderful for people to experience the original Diablo experience, which is different to Diablo 3, that would be able to make the most of modern hardware, modern internet connections, etc. Much like they're working on with Warcraft 3 Reforged, which I'm extremely excited about. Being a Warcraft player back in the day, I used to make campaigns in the editor, the world editor, etc. I didn't do so much of the PvP style gaming in there because I don't enjoy that type of RTSing. I like story-driven RTSing, Age of Empires, those sort of games. But very much Warcraft 1, 2, and 3, especially 3. So yes, I was hoping for a Diablo 1 or 2 remaster along the same veins as what they're doing with Warcraft 3 Reforged, which I wasn't aware was in the pipeline. I must admit, that one slipped right under my radar. So the announcement happened. Poor old Wyatt got stepped out and tried to build up the hype for Immortal. And I knew straight away what he was going to be announcing. I didn't know the title, but I knew it was going to be the mobile version. Um, by this point, the Warcraft 3 Reforged announcement being made by the classic team, which had sunk my hopes that we'd get our remaster. What I didn't anticipate was how much backlash there would be from the community. Much like Blizzard have admitted themselves, they expected some backlash. What surprised me is just how vindictive and toxic it's become. People I respect, people I have subscribed to for years, have turned nasty. And while I understand where they're coming from, some of it, I believe, is fundamentally misguided, misaimed, and pain and hurt speaking, not rational thinking. I'm not going to name names, but we're talking about people that are respected, at least in the Western Hemisphere, on YouTube, on Twitch, for being really good and really in touch community content creators. One in particular who I've been watching today, again, another video that they recently dropped, is well known for their Mishima content, and someone I've always respected. And they are losing my respect, and I really don't like saying that, but they are. Everyone has been jumping on Diablo Immortal like it's Satan incarnate. Now, here's the thing. When all said and done, Blizzard/Activision are a company. They're a business. They need to make a profit in order to stay viable. And, of course, they make a lot of money from their various IPs. However, those IPs need to grow in order to continue making a profit. They have shareholders to answer to, etc. Now, that's not to say that their decisions should be all based on business. And I honestly believe they are not. I'm just running around circles because I don't want to start playing and get distracted because I really get into it when I rift. So the game's up as much as anything for something to fill the screen other than my face. But anyway, so let's start with a couple of things. First of all, Diablo 4 announcement. Diablo 4 was never going to be announced. They're not in a position to announce it yet. They're still finishing off building the team. They're still advertising for positions within Blizzard and the Diablo team specifically to work on D4. So anybody that went into BlizzCon with the expectation we were going to get a big Diablo 4 reveal is an idiot. I don't mean that maliciously, but if you are so blinkered that you actually thought that Diablo 4 was going to be announced at BlizzCon, you need to wake up and you need to start paying attention to more videos like this, maybe from people that are far more knowledgeable than me, if I'm honest, about the game, about the franchise, about the IP, and about Blizzard in general. Most of my knowledge has come from paying attention to what's already been produced by other people. Information that has been sifted through, filtered, and presented by other people. People in the know far more than I. So if I can do it, anyone can do it. Anyone can watch YouTube. Anyone can go through Reddit. Anyone can watch Twitch. Yeah, the information's been out there. Right. So that's really all I want to say about the D4 release. I eagerly await when they do release it, but it's not going to be for at least another year that we'll even get an announcement. Let's be realistic here. Yeah, and that's partly because they're still putting the team together. It's partly because they've had two different game directors for it while it's being in development, and it's changed in direction and in design and style multiple times. Blizzard have openly admitted this. So yeah, D4, as much as I wish it was tomorrow, or better yet, yesterday, is not coming for at least a year. We might get a teaser, maybe next year's E3 or Gamescom or something like that, and then an official announcement that it's coming next year's BlizzCon. Yeah, and That will be amazing, and I will have multiple nerdgasms and be eager to get my hands on the game. But that's the reality of it. As far as Immortal's concerned, anyone that was surprised about a mobile title, again, has had their head buried in the sand for the last 18 months. Anyone that's paid attention to the career section on the Blizzard website will know that they've been working on a Diablo mobile title and building a team for it for the last 18 months or more. So again, it should have been no surprise. The remaster not coming, it is. I'm 99.99% certain we will get an announcement in the next 12 months with the game to follow not long after. Much like Warcraft 3 Reforged. And I think what they're waiting on is how Warcraft 3 Reforged was received at BlizzCon before they move forward with the Diablo Reforges. Because there's been a lot of backlash in the community about remasters in the last few years. People complaining that nobody's coming up with new ideas, so they're just recycling old content, and that's not what it is. The communities, the diehard communities, they want to see versions of the games they like to play that make the most of their modern hardware and modern internet connections, etc. I, for one, would love to see, for example, the BioWare title Knights of the Old Republic 1 remastered, because on my PC I have a nice setup. The original game is on my Steam library, and it blows because the engine can't handle my system. So yes, there is a demand for remasters, and nowhere I think right now is there more of a demand for a remaster than within the Diablo community for Diablo's 1 and especially for 2. They were wonderful games in their time, but they need some TLC to bring them up to modern hardware so we can enjoy them at their fullest potential, but still keep that feel and that game style and that play style that we came to know and love. Diablo 3 is a different style. I don't deny it. It's an enjoyable game, especially more recently. Since they got rid of the auction house, we got Reaper of Souls, we got the Rift system. All of that has made the game quite replayable and quite fun. It's not classic Diablo 1. It's certainly not classic Diablo 2. The art style is very different, as you can see. I'm probably this area is probably nearest to the desert locations within Diablo 2 that you'll see in D3, and it's far brighter, it's far happier, it's far more colourful. Something that Blizzard were made aware of, and we got Whimsyville, etc. in their response. They were being silly. But that's what the Diablo staff are like. They like to troll, they like to have a bit of fun. Which is why I understand why the red shirt guy asked if it was the Diablo Immortal announcement was a joke. You know? And even Wyatt got that. You saw that in his reaction. I'm not going to put any footage from the BlizzCon in this video simply because I don't want to get my first video copyright struck. So, where my concern, or what I think personally were two mistakes that Blizzard made, was one, they announced it at the wrong venue at the wrong time. BlizzCon is primarily a PC gamer event. The majority of Blizzard's titles, with the exception of Hearthstone, which is also available on mobile devices, are PC titles. Overwatch does have a console base, but the majority of the people attending BlizzCon that paid for virtual tickets, or even the people that were watching the free stream of the opening ceremony on Twitch, like myself, are PC gamers. I don't own a console. I have a smartphone, just bog standard Galaxy S7. It's not even a modern one. It's a couple of generations old. But it does my need. I don't play mobile games. Nearest I get is, little like Bejeweled type stuff, because it's just something to do, if I'm on the bus or on the train or something like that. I'm not into full-on 3D games on phone. Same reason why I don't console. I don't get on with the controls. And a lot of people my age, I'm in my 40s, feel the same. We are not the mobile generation. We're not even necessarily the console generation. We are people that grew up with the early consoles but we moved into PC or started with PC very early on, and we are keyboard and mouse orientated. I couldn't claim to be otherwise, and most of the people in my age bracket that are gamers would agree and say the same. At least the people I know. So the big mistake was the venue. Was the worst possible venue to announce a mobile title and expect a warm reception. This game, they've openly admitted, and it was, again, anyone with any knowledge of business and how business works, this game is not marketed for us. Yeah, our generation have no interest in the mobile title. Yeah, it didn't stop me from, as soon as they announced it, actually going onto the Android App Store and seeing if my phone would run it, just because the lore aspect of it intrigued me, the 20-year gap. But I'm not going to sit there and spend hours playing that game. I would have jumped in now and then when I had some time free and I wasn't streaming and I wasn't working and I wasn't sleeping, or spending time, with friends and family. I might have hopped on for 10 minutes and done a couple of rifts or whatever the equivalent is. Um, but my primary interest was actually the story, exploring the lore, that 20-year gap, seeing what they did with it, because I love the lore of the games, and that's true of most of the games I play. Um, so yes, I did. I jumped on and I actually pre-registered for it, and but yeah, I had no intention of being a serious Diablo Immortal player. So yes, the venue was the wrong choice. And if I blather a bit, I do apologise. I do that. You'll have to get used to that if you're going to watch my videos. Um, the second mistake they made was when during BlizzCon they announced it. Obviously, all the announcements at BlizzCon are typically during the opening ceremony, and they then expand on those during the Q&As, the open panels, the What's Next panels, etc. The fact that Diablo had the What's Next panel straight after opening ceremony left everyone, myself including, thinking we were going to get something good announced for Diablo. And that's where my hopes and thoughts that we'd get a 1 or 2 remaster stemmed from. So what they did was they announced a mobile title at a PC or primarily PC exclusive audience, and they didn't follow it up with anything to get us as PC players excited. And when we're not excited after spending lots of money, in the case of the people at the event or on the e-tickets, yeah, we feel like we've been let down, and that's when hurt kicks in, and that's when the backlash kicks in. So I'm not surprised Diablo Immortal got some backlash. Neither are Blizzard. But I think that we, as a player base, and I'm guilty of this myself, my initial reactions after the opening ceremony when I sat and digested what I'd seen, my initial reaction was, I got the salt. I got a big pile of it. But I showed restraint in my response. There was a couple of, I'm trying to remember. I know there was a couple of places where I think I actually posted out a tweet on Twitter on my streaming account where I expressed the fact that I was disappointed and I was upset and I was frustrated and why did they leave us hanging like that? But I tried to show some restraint. That's my nature. I'm one of 2 directions I go. Yeah, either I'm very calm, I'm very like I am now, or I am and I tried to be the calm me. And for the most part, I succeeded. Then we started seeing things filtering through on various social medias. Um, People were starting to look at NetEase. And this is where I really want to address fellow content creators. Yeah, because there seems to be a bandwagon that everyone's jumping on. I don't believe Diablo Immortal is a reskin. And I want to explain why. I believe NetEase is a problem, but I don't think it's for the reason everyone is jumping on. Yeah. Everyone is comparing Diablo Immortal to 2 specific NetEase titles and saying it's a reskin. And Blizzard are denying that vehemently. Now, here's the thing. Blizzard would be in a lot of trouble if it turned out it was and they denied it. That's lawsuits. You're talking class actions and all sorts that they open themselves up to. So I really don't believe that they are out and out going to lie about this. And they've stated irrevocably it's a new engine built from the ground up. And I believe that, not because I'm gullible, but because I understand business. What I think is the reason why this reskin theory came about, and I almost fell for it, is yes, there are two NetEase titles that are Chinese market titles that have a control schema almost identical. The actual UI is almost identical to what we've seen of Diablo Immortal 2 so far, what was in the demos at BlizzCon, and what they showed, including in the gameplay trailers, etc. Here's the thing. I don't think there's anyone out there, content creator-wise, and this is where I want to talk to you because I think you've failed to do due diligence, that's actually looked at non-NetEase titles in the Chinese market. I did. Again, I can't show you the but just Google, mobile dungeon hack or mobile MMO fantasy games China, and there are video excerpts. A lot of them are in Chinese. So obviously, unless you speak Chinese, either Mandarin or Cantonese, you're not going to be able to understand what the content creators are saying. But you can see for yourself that schema is standard for that style of game in the Chinese market. It varies slightly from game to game because obviously, they don't want them all looking exactly the same. But it's something that they've established is an intuitive way of controlling that style of game on a mobile device. Much like if you look at game controllers for consoles, while they might have their own distinctive shape, they all have 4 buttons, 2 analog sticks, a D-pad, and a couple of triggers. All of them in some variation or another. And that's something that's evolved if you look through the history of consoles. But they may have a slightly different shape between PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, etc. But they all have that same control schema for a reason. They found that that's what works best for the consumer, us, to use. So why would they deviate it when they're trying to bring a title out in the Western market if they know it's worked for thousands of people for the last 3-4 years in the biggest mobile market in the world? Yeah. So no, just because the UI looks the same, that doesn't make it reskin. The other thing that people have been saying is it's reskin because the footage of the Barbarian in the Immortal looks identical to the footage of the Barbarian style character that's been knocking around on YouTube from the other NetEase games. Guess what? You could just say that it's also a rip-off of a Fury Warrior in WoW. You could say it's a rip-off of... Well, I mean, I'm trying to think of another example, but do you get what I'm saying? When you have a barbarian, warrior, berserker, whatever you want to call it, type character that uses 2 weapons and does a spin attack, they're going to look damn similar. Try comparing to some of the other classes in Immortal to the other NetEase games. There's not a lot of similarity. They're very different. It's just that one class, and everyone's been jumping on the fact one class looks the same, looks similar. Well, yeah, of course it is. It's the same as the theory of take 1,000 monkeys and give them or an unlimited number of monkeys and give them typewriters. Eventually, one of them is going to sit and accidentally type out the words of Shakespeare. In this case, it's a lot more likely you're going to get similarities between similar styles of character class with similar abilities in a game that fundamentally screen real estate is a factor on this. So they're going to keep them pretty similar. Again, look outside of NetEase titles, you're going to see other games with similar graphical effects for that style of character. Yeah. The time to worry is when all of them look the same, but they don't. And correct me if I'm wrong, and please post in the comments if somebody has found a video where they can do a direct correlation between the character class from the NetEase games similar to the Necromancer or the Demon Hunter or even the Mage, and that it's identical to the ones in Immortal, then I'll say, okay, you've made a good point. Yeah, but I've looked, I haven't found one. So the reskin issue, I think, is people just wanting a direction to push their salt. They're hurting, they're upset, they didn't get what they wanted out of BlizzCon, so they're lashing out. That said, there is something I am personally very concerned about, and that is the fact that NetEase as a company in the Chinese market are notorious for gating content behind microtransactions. I read an article posted by a Chinese gamer, and I don't know how much credibility to give it, but it seems to be reinforced quite a lot, and it seems to have been liked by a lot of other Chinese gamers. Therefore, I would say it has at least some credibility that NetEase's games. Well, to give you an example, he or she expressed the fact that in the current NetEase titles, the equivalent to a rift in D3, to open it will cost you energy. And you get a set number of energy per day. If you want more energy than that, you have to buy it. That worries me. I am not going to lie, that worries the hell out of me. Like anybody else that plays D3, when I'm playing, especially during season, I'm grinding those rifts. Boom, boom. I grind my normal rifts at the beginning of the day, stack up my keys, and then I jump in and it's grift, 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 grift. Boom, 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 boom. Because I'm farming to get those gems up, I'm farming to get that gear that I'm still missing. I'm farming to try and get those primals. I'm farming to get the blood shards so that I can Kadala. Just like everybody else. And if I can only say do 10 rifts a day and I have to pay to do more, ouch. But that's not even the biggest fear with the microtransactions. Yeah. My biggest fear is one of the other examples he gave was if you want to go and enchant a piece of gear. Oh, if I can get it there. Right now, I pop that in. I want to re-roll. I've already re-rolled on this, haven't I? No, it's in. Okay, so good example. Right, I want to try and get my 40% on this, and I really should because oh, sorry, my 50 even. So I might want to re-roll my crit hit. Right now, I just have to pay my normal, costs, hit my re-roll, and hope. Yeah, that's great. I can do that all day long because, oh, there we go. We got an upgrade. Boom. I can just keep going until I run out of mats. Oh, there we go. So obviously, RNGesus is loving me. I'm glad I made this video. Right, so I just got 49%. It took me 3 attempts. That's great. We all know that's not always that easy. Right? And I bet if I went for my 50%, it'd take me about 20, 30 attempts. Because, this game just hates us with RNG. But with the NetEase titles, each attempt, as well as the mats in game, you need a jewel. And these jewels are available on the cash marketplace. Now, that said, this is a standard operating procedure for the Chinese market. Microtransactions is what it's all about over there. I'm hoping that that doesn't carry through to Immortal. Because if it does, the game's dead to me. Lore or not. I'll catch up on the lore on the wikis. But that's really my fear. I don't think that the backlash that Blizzard has received is completely justified. I believe that there is some justification, but not complete justification. They're trying to appeal to 2 markets that we are not. And that's where they went wrong. They announced it to the wrong market. They're trying to appeal to the younger generation, the 10 to 16-year-olds, 10 to 18-year-olds even, the up-and-coming gamers, the ones that do play on their mobile phones here in the West, that do play games like Fortnite on mobile. They want to expand their market. I can understand that. I'm a business person myself. on a much smaller scale to say the least. But you know, and a company like Blizzard has to expand their market in order to continue having growth, in order to be able to fund wholeheartedly development of games like Diablo 4. So, and part of that, I think, is also experimenting with models of gaming to see where they can go with Diablo 4 directionally. There are some things in the gameplay trailer for Immortal that I really hope we see when Diablo 4 finally reaches us. Larger groups than 4 members. The section where we saw a demon hunter climbing up and down a rope and fighting mobs at the same time. I think it was a demon hunter. You know, that sort of thing. Oh wow, that'd be great in D4, and I hope we get it. But before they give it to us in a major IP release like Diablo 4, they're trying it out in this mobile platform, while at the same time generating revenue to cover the cost of developing D4. What happens if D4 has the same problem as D3 on launch, and the pickup's not what it should be because there are features that people don't like? They need to cover that. They need to cover their asses financially, invest with their investors, with their shareholders, And yes, we can blame Activision because Activision is the devil. Honestly, I don't agree with that. I don't 100% disagree or agree with that statement. Activision are a problem, but they're not the devil. Um, and I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for that. But again, I'm a gamer, but I'm also a business person. I can see both sides of the equation. Something I think a lot of people are missing. Yeah. I don't think it's entitlement. I think that's a phrase that's been used a lot by idiots and wannabe journalists, gaming journalists. And I'm not even going to touch on that absolute idiot that tries to compare the reaction to Immortal to misogynistic responses and women hating. Um, but I think we as a community need to understand. Yeah, Blizzard slash Activision are a business that makes games we love, but they're a business, and they have a bottom line they have to look at, and expanding their Chinese market, which is a big chunk of their revenue, is key to that for them. Expanding their mobile business for the younger generation is key to them. I see all these content creators my age, some are a little bit younger, that are complaining and saying that Blizzard's lost touch with their community. No, I think Blizzard's marketing team made a royal F up. Yes, in choosing BlizzCon opening ceremony headline announcement to be this title. That was their biggest mistake. Possibly, if they follow NetEase too much in the modeling of how, in the monetization model, that could be a big mistake. And I'm hoping, if anything, that as well as other content creators understanding where I'm coming from and thinking about what they're telling people and how they're presenting things, yeah, I'm hoping Blizzard will see this and realize that that is a big issue if they do that. That's a deal breaker for a lot of us. As much backlash as there's been about Immortal, I believe that a lot of us, when we calm down and when the salt levels fall, or we find something else to be upset about, we'll probably try Immortal out. But if they riddle the game with microtransactions, it will fail. At least for our generation. Maybe not for their target audiences. Certainly, I mean, over in China, they do that. They're already doing it with Overwatch. Overwatch, is a cash cow in China because people pay directly for skins. It doesn't go through a loot box system. It's straight cash for skin, cash for emote, because that's the way the Chinese market works, and that's fine for China. That's not fine for the West, because that's not what we want, not how we work, and certainly not what we expect. But that's really my only concern about Immortal is the microtransactions. If they can offer us something that isn't microtransaction riddled, that is fun, who cares if it looks like 1,000 other games out in the Chinese market? Who cares if it's not Diablo 4? Diablo 4 is coming. We know this. We just have to be patient. Anyway, I've talked for long enough. This is a much longer video than I expected it to be, but Leave your comments, leave your opinions, in the comments. I will read them. I will respond where I can, and as long as they're not toxic or aggressive, you know, I'm willing to hear any point of view, and I may even do a follow-up video where I share some of your comments and opinions. Yeah. But in the meantime, just remember, we're a community that's based around the games we love. Don't start hating on the people just because they're looking to add to our community, a new generation. Because that's what Blizzard are doing with Immortal in the West. They're trying to grow our community. This is Kokuru with Wicked Games saying, keep playing, keep gaming, keep enjoying it. I will.